Hello my bookish friends, welcome back. I am Elizabeth. This is Channel 5 News. I'm just kidding, this is Reading Riley and we're starting a vlog. I'm in the post-vlog world currently, so I'm just gonna tell you this vlog isn't like my typical themed vlogs. I was just kind of mood reading my way through this vlog. I'm starting with Sundial by Catriona, and then I moved on to Notes on an Execution by Danya Kukafka, and then I end it with The Island by Adrian McKinty. Sundial is a horror book technically, I believe, but you could kind of throw it in that thriller category. Notes on an Execution, absolutely literary suspense. And The Island is a thriller with kind of horror undertones. All three of these genres, nonetheless, are genres that I typically frequent and that I love to read from. So even though this isn't my typical themed vlog, it's focusing on some books that I'm interested in and that I think you might be interested in as well. So let's just go ahead and get into the vlog. Okay, I am cleaning out the closet and reorganizing and doing laundry and stuff, and I'm listening to Sundial. I'm about 25% in right now. I have no idea what the hell's happening. I have no idea what's going on. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the two little girls are Annie and Callie. Mom is Rob, dad is Irving. I think dad's a prick. He's a fucking asshole. He cheats. He's a sociopath. He blows up. He has a bad temper. Rob has to deal with his BS. So of the two girls, Callie is the older one. Denver. No. Thank you. From the first line, Rob says that she knows that Irving's been cheating again because Annie, the youngest girl, has chickenpox, which he got from going to the neighbor's house who he's having an affair with because their kids had chickenpox. Okay, so that's where we get the second chapter. We go into this book, which I think Rob is writing, called Arrowwood. And the characters seem to reflect the characters that we're following, but maybe are not. I'm not sure. Callie does something really bad. Rob finds a bunch of bones and stuff in her room. She's kind of like obsessed with bones and dead things. And Callie has a second part of herself. She is warm Callie, and then there's pale Callie. Pale Callie can see ghosts. Pale Callie can read minds. I know, it's weird. After Callie does this bad thing, Rob decides to take her to the desert where she grew up. There are like witchy things happening, but I don't know. I'm starting to worry that I'm going to need to know about witch things in order to understand this book, which I hope is not the case, because now Rob is saying that there's some other part of herself as well. Like their selves are divided somehow, and I don't understand that, but hopefully I will. I'm just really confused, so I don't really know what's happening at all. But, you know, I'm here for it. I'm on the journey. I will check in a little later and let you know if I'm still feeling it or not. Okay, I am now 75% into Sundial. I'm a little bit disappointed. I'm really not loving it like I thought I would, which is sad, very sad. I'm also in like a weird place right now because I finished Misery the other day and it kind of put me in like a depression. I'm not gonna lie.
It made me feel hopeless.
And also this book is doing a very specific thing that triggers me, where this relationship with Rob and Irving is just so unhealthy. I started out so pumped, so on Rob's side, and so down to like kick ass with her. He's super manipulative and she knows it. I should explain, we're getting past chapters from Rob's childhood, growing up in Sundial, and how she met Irving. And so this reaction is coming from that when they met. Like all of the red flags, all of the gaslighting, all of the manipulation. I'm just really frustrated with that. For a lot of people talk about the animal cruelty in this book, and there is animal cruelty, but it's not like unless I like glazed over something. There is scientific experiments happening with dogs. They do put some kind of like mechanism in their head, which reminds me of Fern Gully, which is cruel. It is cruel. Do not get me wrong. I was expecting some like really gory, messed up beating or something, and that's just not happening. So I don't know, but I'm not triggered by animal cruelty as much as I am by like gaslighting and things like that. So take that as you will. At first I was upset that we were getting so much of this past history with Rob and her childhood, because I was focused on this current day situation, and I was it was one of those situations where they kept ripping me away from that to take me to the past timeline, and I'm like, no, I want to go back to the current day. Like, what the hell is happening? There's really not much happening in this current day. Like, the whole premise of what this story is about the mom, Rob, taking Callie to the desert, I can feel it building. I can feel it culminating to a specific event, but nothing's happened yet other than they're just like in the desert and Rob's reminiscing about her childhood. And I know it's all connected. I know it's going to come together. And I've heard this twist in here is just so big. But I honestly don't know if that can save it for me at this point. I don't know if that can redeem it. Because even with The Last House on Needless Street, I was confused most of the way for that one as well. But I was still interested in the characters. There was a little bit of comic relief in there with the cat. There was like a lot more interesting stuff going on. And for this, I'm not really that into it right now. So we'll see how I feel. My opinion could completely change when I get to this twist. There are some things happening where you don't really know who is the unreliable person, because everyone has their own story and not everybody can be telling the truth. So I don't know if I can even trust Rob. I don't know if I can trust Callie. I don't know if I can trust Irving. Like, maybe Irving's choices are justified. No, they're not. They're not. There's no way. But maybe there's something there that I don't know about. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm just gonna kind of power through it because right now I'm not into it. Sundial. I'm trying to pinpoint, I'm trying to figure out what exactly I didn't love. And it's not that I hated it. I think I totally understand why some people love this, but it didn't do for me what it did for them, which is interesting. And the things that some people didn't like about it didn't bother me. It's a weird dynamic. I didn't like how the timelines were set up. The first chapter hooked me. It hooked me. It was the perfect first chapter as far as I'm concerned. I was on board. I was supporting Rob. I was like, yes. I had a really hard time getting invested into the past timelines, and unfortunately that's where most of the book is spent, and it's all leading up to this kind of accumulation of this event, right, that happens in the desert. While that last scene was very action-filled and dramatic, it did not justify the rest of the book for me. I was just so uninvested at that point, and on top of that, I was triggered by the gaslighting, and I really need to figure out what it is in some books that trigger me with gaslighting and some books don't. If it's an unreliable narrator, then it seems to be more okay for me, because at that point, we're using that in order to kind of sell this idea of is it, isn't it? Can we rely on this person? Can we not? And if you cannot rely on that person, ultimately, then it wasn't gaslighting. If it's that situation and we're using that as a plot device to misconstrue, then I'm okay with that because it's effective for me. But in this case, even though she did try to work that in, I don't think it was successful. It's not a spoiler because I feel like it's still gaslighting in this case, whether we can rely on Rob or not. If Rob is a reliable character, it's gaslighting. If Rob is an unreliable character, it's still gaslighting. The way it's told, there's no misconstruing the gaslighting. So I think that played a role in this for me. There are also some things in there that were just never explained. Some like paranormal elements that I wish she had gone deeper into, because the way this is set up, you're like, is this a witch thing happening or is it like an experimental science thing happening? I think it's trying to pull us in too many directions. Is it a witch or is it science? Is it gaslighting or is it not? Are they reliable? Are they not? What is happening? And it's definitely atmospheric. Like, you get the sense that you're in the desert. You get that atmosphere and that vibe, that energy of like desert energy. Desert energy. Okay, let's get into the ratings. First of all, for the twist, I do feel like the twist was good. It wasn't as effective for me, and I don't know why, but it did not shock me. I think because I wasn't invested in the characters as much at that point. So for the twist, I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5. That's harsh. Let's give it a 3 out of 5. For the overall plot, I don't like how this story was told. As much as I do still like Catriona Ward's writing, I do not like the framing of this story and how she chose to tell the story. So I don't think I can really get on board with that either. So I think I'll give that a 3 as well. And then for the characters, that's even harder because there was no redemption. There was no redemption arc for anybody. I will say this. The gaslighting things that bothered me made more sense at the end. There were extenuating circumstances that, as the reader, you do not know until later on in the story to justify Rob's dealing with the gaslighting in the way that she did. So I will give her that. I didn't really love any of these characters. So again, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. So that's 9 out of 15 total. I think I'm going to give this a 3-star. I don't think it's bad. I understand why the people who love it, love it. I understand why the people who have issues with it have issues with it. It just didn't really steer me fully one way or the other. And so for that, it's going to go right in the middle with a 3-star. So on that note, I have started notes. On that note, I have started Notes on an Execution by Danya Kukafka, maybe? This one is more of a literary suspense. I'm about 50% into it right now. I'm kind of ebbing and flowing with it. Her writing style is really dry. If you don't like flowery writing, you would definitely like this writing because it's very dry, it's very to the point, but it's done in an interesting way. It's framed in an interesting way. So we're following the story of this guy who is on death row, and we're counting down the hours until his execution. In alternating chapters, we're getting his perspective and then also other women in his life. This took me a minute to get into because of the writing style didn't draw me in initially. The chapters that we get that are in his perspective, his name is, what is his name? Ansel? His chapters are written in second person, which I usually like, but typically when you get second person, they're talking to someone specifically. It's like the protagonist's voice talking to someone else, or it's like a letter or something like that. This one, it's this omniscient voice talking about him. So it's really strange. It's like saying what he's doing throughout the day as this like just ether. So it's like you
walked out of your cell, you saw Shauna and you winked at her, and then you did this, and then you went down here and you felt like this about it.
It still is weird for me, and I don't really understand that choice, but it's interesting. And so then after his first chapter, we go into the story of his birth, basically, and we're following his mother and the things that she went through in the beginning of his life that kind of set him up for this madness. And it was just so dry. The writing is like,
she walked up to the farmhouse and she met Johnny, and then she did this, and then she did.
I don't need it to be purple. I don't need it to be flowery. In fact, I don't like purple. I do like flowery, but the prose is just so like what it took me a minute to get into it because I was not connecting to it. But I at first was thinking that these people were meant to be connected in a way that wasn't known to the reader, but then I read the description again and it very clearly states this is Ansel, whatever the fuck his name is, and we're following him, and then we're following his mom, and we're following these women in his life. So I was like, oh, okay, this is not meant to be a guessing game, because I may have like zoned out when they said that at the beginning because I was so like struggling to pay attention. Then I kind of got into it and read the entire first half in like a few hours and like just could not stop. Well, listened. I'm listening. Just always assume that I'm listening unless I tell you so, because I will be bragging if I'm reading something physically. Okay, just assume I'm listening on audio. A really cool bit that like really drew me in is that this guy, the killer, has a theory about life that I have been preaching for fucking years. And so it's just so crazy that this came to me, that this book came to me and already has this idea that I have been subscribed to. And that is basically that we live in a multiverse. I love that we're bringing up the multiverse in this, although it's very, it's side discussion. It has nothing to do with the story. But he believes he has this like manifesto, and in it he's saying there's a multiverse. We all make different choices in every single universe. Every choice leads to something else, and therefore good and evil lives on a spectrum. No one is all good and no one is all evil, and we all live in between, and the choices we make just kind of move us along that. And I have been saying that for so long, and I feel so validated. Like, yes, this is my thoughts exactly. Yes, sir. Obviously he's using that as a reason that he should not be killed. So our motives are certainly different, but I relate to that, and I love that. I love that theory because I think it's true. I think everyone is morally gray, whether you want to admit it or not. So I put it down after that 50% mark because I wanted to be able to update you guys, and I was busy doing other things. And then I just picked it back up, and now I'm having a hard time getting you back into it again because we're following a new perspective. So
be a DNF. I can't listen to like an audiobook. I'm like, I can't edit the video. It's just like, sorry guys, I read 26 pages and hated it, so.
No, it is not.
Never too late.
It is not too late. It is not too late.
That's why I practice my Scottish accent. To fall down at your
hello vlog. Last night I went to my best friend's place to do a girls' night. Had a few of our girlfriends there, and we did dinner and we did some girl talk, and so that was a lot of fun to get out of the house, do something in the world, which is pretty rare for me at this point. And I have finished Notes on an Execution by Danya Kukafka. Okay, I gotta tell you, I'm torn in so many directions with this one. When I finished it, just based off of my initial reading experience. How dare you?
What?
Interrupt my filming.
Trying to see if our insurance cards have come in.
Alright. Based just on my initial experience, reading experience, I didn't love it. However, I talked to a few people, I read some reviews. Actually, Lauren from Lauren Love Reads sent me an interview that she did, which kind of explained some things. After having gone back, after having thought about it, taken some time with it, I really appreciate what this book is doing, but I still don't know how to rate it. Like, I don't know. I'm so confused. So the whole second person, I was talking to my friend Lily about it, about the second person narrative and how it was so strange because it's like this omniscient presence talking about him to him, right? And Lily said, well, what if it's like his ghost and he's already dead and he's like viewing himself as he does it, and that's how he knows his emotions and his feelings and all of that. And I was like, what? Like, that would be so cool. From that discussion on, I was waiting for that twist. I was waiting for it to hit me like that. And unfortunately, that's not what it was. So when I read the interview with the author, she says that the reason she decided to write it from that perspective was so that you, as the reader, feel like you are in his shoes, like you are the killer. And that makes total sense. Makes total sense. But I wish I had known that from the beginning, because I was just so thinking that it was going to be something so outrageous and so wild that almost feels like a disappointment to me at this point. But if I had known that from the beginning, I would have viewed this entire book differently, and maybe my experience would have been different. I used to hate second person. I used to hate third person. I used to just like first person narratives. And as I've read more and as I've grown as a reader, I've come to appreciate different perspectives and different ways of writing a book and such. And I truly do like second person narratives now. But this one was just so weird for me. You ain't Denver. No.
Do you have any wasp killer?
Not that I know of. Sorry, there's a lot going on.
Got a big hornet's nest. I know it's at the door.
Great. Isn't that really flammable?
I'll use brake cleaner. Also flammable. They're all flammable.
The point of having these dual perspectives of the women that have been affected by this killer is to take the attention off of this killer. And all of this, I didn't really understand. There was like little bits of it, but I didn't fully grasp it until I listened to this podcast, this interview. But essentially, she wants to put you in the killer's head so you can see that he is just human, that even though he's a psychopath, he is just human, and he's not this cool, clever guy. Like, he's not this Ted Bundy character. Even Ted Bundy is not this Ted Bundy character that we make him out to be. And so the whole point is to take the attention away, or to kind of look below the veil, below the curtain, to see what is truly on the inside, and that no matter what, he's still human, but also he's still responsible for his actions and for the things that he's done. Oh, also his like theory. I feel like after listening to that interview that she meant for that manifesto to make him look stupid, and now I'm like, but I liked it and I agree with it. I don't know. I still stand by this theory of good versus evil on a spectrum. I stand by it. Nonetheless, there were certain things like that I was like really intrigued with, really invested in it. But then a lot of the time I was just really uninterested in the writing style, and I was not hooked by the writing. Again, I don't know if I had known, if I had looked at it from a different perspective, if I would like it more, but it just is what it is. So as far as the twist goes, there was not much of a twist. There were a couple little things here and there. It's definitely a literary suspense that is 100% accurate, 100% true, but there was no crazy plot twist. Although at the end, there's something weird happened that I still can't explain, that I don't really understand. If you have read this, let me know, and let's talk about it in the down below, because I'm really curious about this one thing that I still don't get. But as far as the twist goes, there wasn't much of one. So I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5 for twist. For the characters, I do like that she kind of showed multiple perspectives of multiple characters, multiple dimensions of multiple characters. I like that. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 for characters. And then for the plot, this is so hard, because there were moments where I loved it and moments where I was just not feeling it. And like the writing style and all of that, I think I have to go right in the middle with a 3. So what is that? 9 out of 15. Oh, this isn't going well, and I don't know what to read next, you guys. I really don't know what the theme of this vlog is. I don't know what to read, because now I have a horror and a literary suspense. I was gonna read another horror book, but now I think Ashley from Ashley's Little Library may have convinced me to pick up The Island by Adrian McKinty, and that one's a thriller. So maybe I could actually turn this into like a horror versus literary suspense versus thriller. But is that really fair? Because I've already read 2 of them. I don't know. But all 3 of those genres are genres that I like. I don't know. I gotta get some stuff done around the house. I need to clean up. We had Hadley this weekend and everything's destroyed. It was pristine on Friday and now it's Monday, and like I'm living in a trash can right now and I can't handle it. I need to clean up. So I'm gonna pop, I think I will start The Island. I'm gonna pop that in my ear and just get to cleaning up and get this place back in order. It's so rainy. So rainy and wet out. Okay, I'm like 45% into The Island. So far, I am really enjoying it. Ashley compared this to No Exit, and I completely see that. Not with the content at all, but the very much like high stakes, propulsive, fast-paced survival type of energy that's in this book. So we're following this family. They are in Australia on vacation, kind of. The dad is there for a conference. They're kind of extending it to have some family time. There's 2 kids and they're tweens, and he has his wife. Their stepmom, Heather, she's 24. I think something tragic happened to the kid's mother, and they are newly married, it seems like. And so they're on this vacation. The kids really want to see a koala. And so they end up making a deal with these guys that they find on the mainland. They have a private island that they live on, and they say, look, give us $900 and we'll take you there on this ferry and we'll let you see some koalas. And he's like, that's too expensive. So this other family from Holland or something, I think they're from Holland, this husband and wife end up pitching in because they want to see it too. They go over on this island. Once they get on the island, something happens that is the inciting incident of this book, and they get themselves in some deep trouble. Now they are fighting for their lives trying to get off this island. That's basically the premise of the entire story. From what I can tell, they are trying to survive. The people on this island kind of giving me like Texas Chainsaw vibes. There's no rule of law on this island. They're this like big family that live there. Like Ashley mentioned in her video, there is a lot of discussion about the Australian Aboriginals, the Australian natives, that I can't speak on. So I don't know anything about the representation, just putting that out there for now. But this family has told them about how there were native people on this island before, and basically they had this tactic where they would like form a line, hunted them down, and killed them all. So we're sure that these people that we're dealing with are not good people, right? Like off the bat, we know they're not good people. I do love the atmosphere in this story so far. It's hot. It's the heat of Australia. They need basic survival things. Like there are survival things that they need to know. They need water. It's not that far to the mainland. It's like a mile and a half, but there are sharks in there. It's very much the isolation trope that I love. And I am so far really enjoying it. It's definitely making me feel nervous for this family. It's keeping me on my toes, and I am liking it so far. So yeah, that's your update for now. I finally got back on the Peloton today. I did not ride my bike all weekend, and I felt like I was sinking back into my old habits, so I got back on it today. It's the end of the month, and it's so weird how May felt so slow at the beginning, and then all of a sudden I feel like so much pressure to read all of the books because there's so many book clubs that I want to participate in, but there's 3 at least that I want to finish books for by the end of the month. Well, we also have Thrill to the Weekend this weekend, and I want to read specific books for that. So it's May 24th, so there's what, 7 days left in the month, and there are like at least 6 books that I would like to read before then. That's probably not gonna happen, not including this one. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna try to keep myself busy so I can keep an audiobook in. Cross your fingers. I think I shall read. I just got out of the bath and I finished The Island, and I really liked it. And I totally see why Ashley liked it. I think I have a better idea of her taste. It's not a 5-star for me, but it is close. Definitely the best, most entertaining book of this vlog. For sure. Island. I finished The Island last night, like I told you. I enjoyed it. I think a lot of people will enjoy this one. It's very high octane. It's very atmospheric. It's got a little bit of heart in there as well, but nothing crazy. There were absolutely some scenes in here that bordered horror. I thought it was going to go dark for a minute. For a minute, I thought it was going to go Karen Slaughter dark. It didn't quite go there. It threatened Karen Slaughter dark. But definitely some dark themes in here nonetheless. There are some graphic scenes in here as far as guts and gore, things of that nature, but I would not say that this is super dark. But it definitely is dark enough for those of you who do like dark fiction. I loved how fast-paced it was. It honestly just went by so fast. There was no moment where I was bored. Also, the audiobook was really good. Interesting, actually. They added sound effects. So if there was like a gunshot, you would hear a gunshot. And I really liked that. But there were a couple parts where they added to the audiobook that I wasn't on board with. Like there was one scene that was supposed to be really windy. And so they added like in the background, and I kept thinking it was in my house. And I was just like, where's that coming from? And so that kind of took me out a little bit, but for the most part, a really, really well done audiobook. Also, there's tons of accents to do too, because we're in Australia, but then there's characters who are Irish, and then we have Americans, so there's a lot going on with that. So props to the audiobook narrator, who is Mela Lee. Good job on her part. I liked the twist. I liked where it took it. But there were kind of 2 twists that were happening in there, and I saw both of them coming. There was another one that I thought it was going to take a certain way. I was thinking this other character was going to play a part into it, and it did not. But I still enjoyed it. It was one of those where I didn't mind that it took it where it did. I didn't mind that I had it figured out because it was just fun. It was just a fun ride. Let's go ahead and get our ratings together. We'll talk about the twist. Like I said, there were 2 kind of twists in there. I think both were fun. Both definitely kept the plot moving forward, and I enjoyed them. I'm going to give this a 4 for the twists. Because even though I figured them out, I'm not going to take points away for that. It wasn't the most like, I did not gasp out loud, which I do love to do while I'm reading, but I still really enjoyed it, thought it was a good time. I thought the characters were really well done too. There was a lot of self-discovery happening, a lot of getting to know each other, and I liked the dynamic. I really related to Heather in this dynamic of her being the stepmom, because I'm a stepmom if you guys don't know, as she was trying to get in the kids' good graces, trying to bond with them, and kept getting this like pushed back away from them. And the kids were great too. Like, they're brats. You kind of hate them, but also you understand because they're kids and they're in a situation where they're not comfortable. They're in a situation where their lives are in danger. They don't, at first, maybe don't recognize the gravity of the situation they're in. You don't want to scar them. Like, there's a lot going on with the kids. They have their own issues, their own problems. I think she did a really good job with characters. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 for the characters. And then lastly, we have the plot. The plot was really propulsive. Like I said, I can't say it enough. It was fast-paced. It kept moving. I have to give it 5 out of 5 for the plot. I thought it was really great, really well done. Definitely agree with this being compared to No Exit as far as that plot goes. And so what do we have? We have 13 out of 15, which is the highest of all of these books that I've read. So let's kind of just go over, summarize the books. We have Sundial, which was a 9 out of 15. Notes on an Execution, which was a 9 out of 15. And then The Island, which ended up being 13 out of 15. So I think The Island is the clear winner if we are comparing horror to literary suspense to thriller. With these standards and this rating system, the thriller wins. If that's the case, the thriller wins. I'm a little bit surprised by that, to be honest. Sundial, the more I sit with it, I'm just kind of accepting that it's not for me, and it's okay. Just because I had such a great time with The Last House on Needless Street does not mean that I have to love everything she writes that much. And yes, I do have authors like that where everything they write I'm so obsessed with, and it's okay if she's not one of those. It doesn't take away from the fact that I love that book so much. And I actually was thinking more about my being triggered by the gaslighting, and I think, like I said, if it's an unreliable narrator, it's okay with me. In another instance, oh, I just cracked my knuckle. If it's like a revenge thing, or if I know the woman's going to get her comeuppance, or I suppose the man is going to get his comeuppance, then if the tone of the story is leading in that direction, then it's okay with me too, because I know I can like go with her. And I think that's what I thought this book was going to do from the beginning. I think I thought that this was going to be almost like a good for her type situation. Put him in the grave, mop the floor with him, kick his ass without giving anything away. The tone of it just did not equal that. I am debating whether I'm going to give it a 3 or 3.5. It's somewhere in between there. Notes on an Execution, on the other hand, like, I cannot stop thinking about this book. Other people are reading it, and I'm trying to like reach out to read it. I know Gabby's reading it right now, and I was like, do you want me to tell you why it's in second person for Ansel's perspective? Because I wish I had known that, and I did. So hopefully she enjoys that more than I did as far as her reading experience goes. Knowing that going in, would you stop bringing me balls? It's one of those situations where I just feel like all of the elements for me to get the most out of this book did not come together in the right way for me to have the best reading experience. I do think it's a really good book, and I don't know what to rate it. Like, part of me wants to give it a 3.5, part of me wants to give it a 4. I know that I can't give it 5 stars because the book has to stand by itself. I can't rate it based on these external resources that I got after the fact. Like, I have to rate this based on the book. On the other hand, if I had these resources beforehand and then had read the book, I feel like I would have had a much better experience. So I just don't know. Like, I'm so conflicted by it. I do think it's definitely one that gets you thinking, especially about topics that I'm interested in, like the kind of glamour and attention that we give to serial killers, because I do love true crime and things like that. So it's definitely an interesting topic for me. But in this instance, it just did not stand alone. So I can't give it credit, even though I appreciate it so much. I think that's gonna end up being a 4 star for me. And then lastly, The Island, we just talked about this. I liked this one a lot, but I'm not gonna give this one 5 stars. I think I'm gonna give this one 4.5 stars actually, because something that I'm realizing about myself and my reading taste is that I need a book to say something. Let me step back a little bit because I'm thinking about it, and there is a discussion in here about native land dwellers, Aboriginals, that I think is really important. But what was it trying to say about that? I appreciated the representation of that in there. I did not get a clear stance other than this is wrong. they weren't really saying anything else about that. I'm glad that it was brought up in there, and I'm glad that it's drawing attention to that, but also I'm not part of that demographic, so I really can't speak on it. But for me, it just felt like it was saying, this is part of this history and this is wrong. By the end of the book, like really there's not a whole lot of connection there other than kind of side references to it. That's something I might have to think about a little bit more. I might have to get a little more information on. And that's not because it has to be researched outside of this, but because I cannot form an opinion based on an experience that I don't have. But I still think this is going to be a 4.5 star for me. I really enjoyed it, had a lot of fun with it, super fast paced, definitely recommend it. Thank you, Ashley, for recommending that to me. And I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up this vlog there. So thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget that life is short, so read Riley. Cheers and goodbye.